सडेतोड नायक कार्यावळींत आज आमी पावसाच्यो खबरी करपाच्यो आसात. गोंयांत इतली गरमी जाता की केन्ना काय पावस आयल्यार पुरो अशे तरेचे लोक आतां सामके देवा कडेन प्रार्थना करपाक लागल्यात. आनी पावस जेन्ना चड येता तेन्ना पावस पुरो म्हणटात आमी. पूण गोंयाक तरी ह्या 37, 38 कांय कडेन 39 डिग्रीज इतली गरमी की काय आतां रस्त्यार भोंवप म्हळ्यार सामकें माणसुकी उरूप ना अशे तरेचे लोक म्हणटात. अशे वेळार पावसाचो अदमास घेवपाक आयज आमी ही कार्यावळ करतात. आनी आमचे भितर आसात सायंटिस्ट रमेश कुमार बाब, जे NIOचे निवृत्त संशोधक आसात. तुमकां आमचे ह्या कार्यावळींत हांव येवकार दिता.
थँक्यू.
तुमी पोरूय आयिल्ले आनी पोरू पावसाची आमी खबऱ्यो केल्ल्यो. ह्याय वेळ तेंच जालो, ह्या वेळार पावस केन्ना येतलो अश्यो बातमी येता आसतना पावस डिले जाला म्हणून खबऱ्यो येतात. अजुनूय केरळाक पावस पावलो काय ना कोणाक खबर ना, पूण चड करून तो डिले जाला 3 ते 4 दीस. ताका लागून 1 तारखेक जो पळय केरळाक पावस येतालो तो 7 तारीख मेरेन गोंयांत पावतालो. सो आतां 7 तारखेक तो पावतलो काय ना हाजे संदर्भात वेगळे वेगळे संशोधक वेगवेगळ्यो थियरी मांडटात. तुमचे कडल्यान आमकां समजून घेवपाक जाय गोंयांत पावस केन्ना येतलो. सो तुमी आमकां
हांव ताका लागून सांगता. एक पावसाक नाल्यार एक मान्सूनाक पावसा सिजनाक 3 इम्पॉर्टंट कायदे आसा. एक मान्सून ऑनसेट ओवर केरला जाता आनी मान्सून सिजना भितर एक्टीव ब्रेक सायकल येता आनी तिसरे अमावंट ऑफ रेनफॉल येता. आनी खूब क्रायटेरिया आसा. हांवें एक डॉक्टर PV जोसेफाचे क्रायटेरिया घेतला. मान्सून ऑनसेट म्हणजे पावसूच न्ही. There are so many other things also which are important. For example, there's actually convective activity over the southern Bay of Bengal, which shifts actually to the South China Sea, again comes to the Arabian Sea, and again we get actually during the period of zero rainfall. So each monsoon is unique and it is different in different this one. And we also can predict. In fact, I have tried to predict in one of my studies using again pre-monsoon rainfall. आता काल आमकां खूब पावस मेळ्ळलो. मडगांव मेळ्ळलो, केपें मेळ्ळलो, खूब पावस मेळ्ळलो.
पणजे मात ते ना
ते पावना, म्हणजे घरा कडेन फुडें पावना. हांगा काम चालू आसा स्मार्ट सिटीचें. बट वी आर हॅपी दॅट देर इज नो रेनफॉल इन पंजीम बिकॉज द वर्क शूड बी कंटिन्यू. सो बेसिकली देर आर 2 इम्पॉर्टंट फॉरकास्टिंग पॅरामिटर्स आसा. एक प्री मॉन्सून रेनफॉल पीक म्हणून आसा अँड प्रेसिपिटेबल इंटिग्रेटेड कॉलमला बॉटम आसा विच कॅन बी सीन वेरी वेल. दॅट कॅन बी युज्ड वेरी वेल इन एडवान्स टू प्रेडिक्ट द मॉन्सून ऑनसेट ओवर केरला. So as you correctly mentioned, this year the monsoon will be delayed by about 3 days. It is supposed to come only on the 4th of June. If you look at this picture, you can very clearly see the earliest monsoon onset was on 11th of May way back in 1918. And the most delayed was actually on 18th of June 1972 with a standard deviation of 8 days. So you can see there is so much of variability within this one. And if you look at not only the onset, the progress of the monsoon. For example, in 2013, that was the year when we have the Uttarakhand floods and Kedarnath, this one. 16 days the monsoon cover kala, full India, which is actually, I would say, one of the, I don't know, very fast, so fast it went. And there was another year, that is in 2002, the monsoon took almost 76 days to cover the entire Indian subcontinent, which was actually very bad. Incidentally, that was a drought year. So both the things are bad. Coming fast is also bad and going very slow is also bad because it affects the agriculture. Because 60 to 90% of our annual rainfall comes during this monsoon period. This was what happened in last year. Last you can see that it came very this one, but it covered the entire Indian subcontinent by 2nd of July. So covered almost 4 or 5 days in advance. You can see the red lines are actually the mean picture, which gives actually the covering of the Indian subcontinent. And this is where it has reached. This one, and you can see in this table very nicely when the monsoon onset over Kerala has taken place and the date of covering the entire Indian subcontinent. You can see in 2013 it covered in 16 days, but there was another year it took almost 51 days. That was way back in 2017. And this year we don't know what will happen because the onset of monsoon and the monsoon rainfall does not have any relationship at all. That's important. And this particular year, it almost reached the south of actually Kerala. So maybe tomorrow or day after the monsoon should hit Kerala coast and then it can go further actually into the Indian subcontinent.
Yes. आमी पोरूंची चित्रां दाखयतात. इतलो बरो पावस पडटा, लोक वाट पळयतात. पूण केरळाक तुमी म्हणटा तशें 1-2 दीस लेट
जातले. It was supposed to come yesterday, which coincides with the school reopening. School reopens in Kerala on 1st of June. The monsoon onset in this are actually going simultaneously, side by side.
सो स्कूल्स डिलेड जाल्यात?
No, school reopen केले.
Reopen केले.
School reopen check.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what I was mentioning.
Yeah.
Each monsoon is actually unique in 3 important aspects.
Yeah.
One is the monsoon onset, which takes place over Goa, Kerala,
Yeah.
and then active break cycle and the quantum of monsoon rainfall.
Okay.
Each of these are actually unique, like each human being. You can see no 2 monsoons repeat the same way.
Oh, okay.
And there are several conditions which we wanted to say the monsoon onset over Kerala.
Okay.
The first and the foremost is actually winds. Even though most of us are bothered by the rainfall, it's not the rainfall alone. The winds which goes up to about 5 to 6 kilometers, they are westerlies, coming from the western direction, and that they bring copious amount of moisture into the Indian subcontinent. And also there are so many things like say pre-monsoon. People think that monsoon is already set over Goa. No. These are all pre-monsoon showers,
Exactly.
They are actually sporadic in nature. You can see, Kepem we got almost 9 centimeters of rainfall.
Yes.
Madgam we got almost 7. Luckily we didn't have much rainfall over Goa.
Yeah. सो हें म्हाका रमेश बाब तुमचे कडल्यान समजून घेवपाक जाय की गोंयांत केरळाक आयलो ताजे नंतर 7 दिसांनी तो गोंयांत येता पूण पोरू न्ही कारवाराक तो आडखळून उरिल्लो.
Exactly.
सो हें कित्याक लागून
Yeah, there are lot of, let's say, oceanic parameters which play an important role in that. We call it hiatus in monsoon.
Okay.
Say, it does not progress linearly. That's why I wanted to say, in one particular year, it covered the entire Indian subcontinent in 16 days.
Yes.
And another it took almost 76 days. So there's no linear relationship that if it comes on, actually if it comes on 1st of June in Kerala, it is supposed to reach by about 5th of June over Goa.
Yes.
But now itself is delayed by about 4th. But let me say there's a small convective system which happens just off Mangalore or just off Kerala, which is actually conducive. And if it progresses towards the Gujarat coast, which happened actually in 2013, it can suck the moisture and the monsoon current, and the monsoon can progress much more faster.
रमेश कुमारजी म्हाका तुमचे कडल्यान आनी एक जाय. ह्या वर्सा सायंटिस्ट वेर व्हेरी मच स्केप्टिकल. एल निनो इफेक्ट ओनो आसा अशे तरेचे म्हणटाले. सो ते कितें आमकां आमचे
I wanted to show actually a picture. El Nino Mangilai, it's a warming of the sea surface temperatures of Peru coast. That's the eastern equatorial Indian Ocean. Okay, that has a profound influence actually on water circulation, atmospheric water circulation. Last 3 years, 2020, 2021 and 22 were actually La Nina years. Just the opposite of El Nino is called La Nina. That is actually conducive for the Indian monsoon and as well as so many things. So you can see that the La Nina was conducive. This year, people think that in the months of May, June and July, which more or less coincide with the peak monsoon months of actually monsoon, and El Nino happens. That's actually bad news. But there is another parameter what we call the Indian Ocean dipole monocer. Indian Ocean dipole is happening in the Indian Ocean, whereas this is happening over the Pacific Ocean. So these two play a very important, ocean atmosphere phenomenon play a very important role on our monsoon if it coincides with the monsoon this one.
आनी एक सदांच एक भंय आमी सदांच व्यक्त करतात तो जो की पयलीं आतां फाटले कितलेशे वर्सां जर आमी पळयत न्ही, एक फाटले 50 वर्सां किंवा 100 वर्सां मॉन्सुनाचो एक ट्रेंड आशिल्लो. पूण हालीं तो खूब विस्कळीत जाल्लो आमकां दिसता पडटा. इज दीस ए इफेक्ट ऑफ क्लायमेट चेंज?
See, what you said is an excellent question. Basically, earlier we used to have a spatial and temporal distribution of rainfall. But now there are extreme rainfall events, or we call intense rainfall event. एकूच दिसाक आतां काल हांव सांगिल्लें न्ही, हांगा मडगांवां 7 centimeters पडले, केपें हांकां 9 centimeters पडले.
केपें it was 200% compared to last some years.
Remember, it falls in one day. Just imagine what should have fallen from 1st June to 30th of September, both spatially and temporally. Just imagine it falls on some 3 or 4 occasions with extreme rainfall or intense rainfall in between. Pausuchna. That affects our agriculture. That affects our drinking water. It affects each and everything.
In fact, city arrangement also.
Everything. There will be a floods in one place. Drought will be another places. So that is a very, very important question.
So climate change कडेन आतां आमी कशे तरेन पळोवप?
Okay, that's also a fantastic question. Basically, because most of the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the oceans. Okay, so if the oceans are getting warmer, the land, as you correctly mentioned in the initial stage, the land is getting much more warmer. So until and unless there is a temperature gradient between the land and the ocean, we won't have actually a strong cross-equatorial flow and monsoon current coming into the Indian subcontinent or peninsular India. So that difference, if it is reduces, the monsoon itself will weaken, which is actually bad. As you correctly said, the climate change may be a bad thing, and we will have more and more of extreme rainfall events,
Exactly.
which can cause either flooding or drought conditions.
तेच ते आमी आतां हांव खुबशे अशे इंटरनॅशनल कॉन्फरन्सीस अटेंड केला ऑन क्लायमेट चेंज आनी एकूण सायंटिफीक जे कितें परिणाम जाता ताजेर आनी तातूंत भितर तेच म्हणटात की आतां पयलीं भशेन पावस येवपाना. जो पावस 3 म्हयनो पडटालो तो आतां एका म्हयन्यान पडूंक शकता किंवा 8 दिसांनी तो 50% ऑफ द टोटल रेनफॉल पडटलो. ताका लागून रस्ते आतां सारके करचे पडटले, खोळयो आतां सारके करचे पडटल्यो, आमचे गटार वेवस्था सारकी करची पडटली. दोंगराचेर झाडां आमी कापल्यात, ताका लागून माती सकयल येतली. म्हणजे प्लॅनिंग हें फक्त आतां फोरकास्ट किंवा सायंटिस्ट करनात. प्लॅनिंग आतां म्युनिसिपालिटीक करचें पडटलें, प्लॅनिंग आतां शेतकारांक करचें पडटलें. सो अशे तरेची सूचना सायंटिफीक कम्युनिटी लोकां कडेन वचपा खातीर आतां कितें करूं शकता?
Okay, excellent question. One of the important things is actually outreach activity of the IMD, India Meteorological Department, NIO. Maybe we should have more and more of actually outreach activity at NIO as well as in IMD. Yesterday they had actually an important program at Pune, where they brought the press people from all over Maharashtra, Pune and Nagpur and Nashik, etc. People came from all over India, mostly from Maharashtra, to the IMD Pune, and it was actually explained the various, as you said correctly, the various technical terms, technological terms, onset, active break cycle, सगळं सांगून हें केलें तांकां.
म्हाका एक सांगात की पावस आतां डेंजरसली जर 50% पावस जर 8 दिसान पडलो हेवॉक म्हणटकीर अशे तरेचो पावस एकदम येवपा आसा, हें बरे तरेन प्रिडिक्शन जाता आतां?
दॅट इज व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट. ताका कित्याक डिफिकल्ट म्हूण सांगता हांव. सी बेसिकली आतां नो डावट आतां टॅक्नॉलॉजिकल एडवान्सेस येयले आमकां एक डॉपलर वेदर रडार येयले, बरोबर, अल्टिनो सर. Things have improved, but then this extreme rainfall or intense rainfall event is very, very difficult to predict because there is highly localized. हांव सांगता तुमी काल आतां मडगांव पावस म्हणलो म्हाका 7 सेंटीमिटर्स,
कोलवा एक्स्ट्रीम रातचो पावस पडलो,
and it's highly localized. So extreme rainfall or intense rainfall highly localized जालेल्या बाकी आमकां पणजीम कांय पावसूच ना. Even though it was fully cloudy, I was thinking it will rain, and I also prayed that it should not rain because the city work, smart city work should not get affected. People were actually putting, so I was also this one that it should not affect.
Everybody is worried.
Worried because the work should be continued, and before the monsoon onset happens, most of the things should be done.
पण सो इतलो लोकलायज जावन लोकलायज टेक्नॉलॉजी कित्याक नासता मागीर?
ओके, दॅट्स ऑल्सो
कित्याक गोवा गव्हर्मेंट आतां पळय ऑल कोस्टल स्टेट्स तांकां आतां एक्सपर्टायज आसची पडटली. कारण अशें म्हणटात की वादळां पयलीं पळय ओरिसाक येतालीं ती आतां हळू हळू अरबी समुद्रा कडेन
करेक्ट.
सो अरबी समुद्र हो आतां फुडलो एक वॉलटायल वादळां पावसा खातीर आसतलो. सो कोस्टल सिटी जितले पळय आहा थंय डेंजर म्हळ्यार कितें क्लायमेट चेंज जाल्यार समुद्र पातळी
सी लेवल रायज जाता, सुनामीस जाता.
सो एक्झॅक्टली. सो ह्या कोस्टल स्टेटींनी आपली यंत्रणा चडांत चड घटमूट कित्याक करची न्ही?
ओके, एक्सलंट क्वेश्चन. वॉट वी नीड इज एक्चुअली वी नीड बुयस मागता, मूड बॉयस मागता. आतां ईस्ट कोस्टाक खूब बुयस आसा thanks to the cyclones which form. Most of the cyclones form in the Bay of Bengal, and it hits actually Orissa, Andhra coast, etc. And as you correctly mentioned, nowadays we are getting more and more of cyclones in the Arabian Sea. In fact, in 2019 we call it the year of the cyclones, which was published actually 5 cyclones formed over the Arabian Sea as compared to 3 in the Bay of Bengal. So we need more and more of mood buoys, especially in the Arabian Sea. As you correctly mentioned, along the coast states of Kerala, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra, which can give more and more valuable information. As you correctly said, we may have information over the land, but the ocean is the major driver for the monsoon. So we need more and more of information from the oceans and data which can be used for predicting, and which will go into the model which predicts the monsoon onset.
प्रसन्न बाब, म्हाका जाय आशिल्लें तें अशें की हो जो पळय अरबी समुद्राचेर जो परिणाम जातलो तो परिणाम कितलो अभ्यास चलता ताचो?
Lots of work is being done. In fact, before retirement itself and from NIO, I published a very important. In fact, Indian Ocean is the warmest region in the whole global oceans. Especially the western equatorial Indian Ocean and the southern Arabian Sea are some of the warmest regions which are actually warming, and this has tremendous repercussions for our southwest monsoon and the cyclones which we mentioned just now.
So India government should also concentrate on the Arabian Sea.
And this year 2021 onwards we are actually called the year of the decade of the oceans.
Okay.
So Government of India, especially the Ministry of Earth Sciences, is actually putting lot of money and effort towards the ocean development, ocean observations, including NIO. CSIR, NIO is a part of CSIR, but the Ministry of Earth Sciences, they have several institutions like say INCOIS, NIOT, NCCR, and NCPOR, which works on the various aspects of the monsoon and the oceans, which can be used for the predictive purposes.
आणि आमचो NIO असं नॅशनल इन्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ ओशनोग्राफी तेही काम करतात या.
Yeah, they do lots of work. In fact, I was working about 30-40 years on monsoons, cyclones, and climate change, including Antarctica also.
ओके. सो आता ह्या वर्साचे जो रेनफॉल आम्ही धरलो, तर ह्या वर्सा सफिशियंट रेनफॉल आसा?
Yeah, that's also a $1 million question, as you correctly mentioned. This
Because
year
everybody is worried, no?
very
आमचे सगळे अर्थकारण पावसाचेर अवलंबून असतं. आमचे शेताचे प्रोडक्शन धरून ते एकूण इकॉनॉमी, इंडस्ट्री धरून ते सगळे.
Actually, what you said is true. They call monsoon is actually the finance minister of actually the Indian government. And so luckily, as you said, things have substantially improved. Even though if there is going to be an El Nino, but we say it's actually within plus or minus 94 plus or minus 6%. We consider as normal. So let us see. I think the peak monsoon months of July and August rainfall is very important. Let us hope the influence of El Nino will be suppressed by Indian Ocean dipole, which should be okay. Let us hope.
They can Indian Ocean can control
positively can suppress the effect of the El Nino. If we can suppress. This has happened. In 1997, one of the strongest El Ninos of the century.
Okay.
So that year we had actually a positive Indian Ocean dipole. The positive Indian Ocean dipole, El Nino चे suppress केले, and we had a normal monsoon in 1997. So let us hope such things happen. Now it's actually neutral IOD, and maybe slowly it is going into the El Nino.
सायंटिस्टांनी म्हणला की या वर्सा monsoon sufficient असतलो.
Normal plus or minus 94 plus or minus 6%.
Okay. So कसं normal म्हणजे किती कसं जातो?
Okay, that is exactly the another question. The normal basically should have been normal over the entire Indian subcontinent, including Goa.
Normal म्हणजे आम्ही जून पासून पडून तो सप्टेंबर मेरेन.
Exactly. There should be both spatial and temporal. As you correctly mentioned, within Goa itself we get actually the Western Ghats. You get lots of rainfall in Valpoi, Ganjem, and other places which are actually in the foothills of Western Ghats. Other places won't get. Luckily, I had looked at actually 3 different epochs of actually rainfall over Goa.
Okay.
Pre-Portuguese period, just after Portuguese, and this one. In fact, Goa rainfall has never this one. It has always been going on the higher side, even during the 3 epochs.
Okay.
So luckily for us, maybe we were not much affected by the other this ones like say other states or whatever. But we are all right.
Okay. So एक जालें आमी ह्या वर्साचें. फुडें रेनफॉल गोंयांत कसो बाबा?
That's also.
कारण आमी सदांच म्हणटात इतलो पावस पडटा, पण उदक सांबाळून दवरपाची कसलीच वेवस्था आमचे कडेन ना. आमचे कडेन तळी ना, आमचे कडेन बांयो आशिल्ल्यो त्यो आमी पुरोवन उडयल्यात. ताका लागून पावस पडटा, अरबी समुद्रान व्हांवून वता. इनफॅक्ट कर्नाटकान होच इशू केला जेन्ना ताणें म्हादय डायवर्शन केलें की गोंयांत इतलो पावस पडटा, गोंय उदक सांबाळना, म्हादयचें उदक दर्यान व्हांवून वता. सो हो सगळो इफॅक्ट जर आमी धरलो जाल्यार फुडल्या 20 वर्सान किंवा फुडल्या 50 वर्सान पावस कसो पडटलो हो एक $1 million क्वेश्चन आमकां विचार करचो पडटलो आनी आमच्या सरकाराक त्या संदर्भात योजना तयार करची पडटली.
What you said is a very important question because water conservation, I think we should start. Most of the states, especially in the societies, they put actually that this one. So that
I went to Chennai. इतलो ड्रॉट जाल्लो ताका लागून तांकां कंपल्सरी
केलें
बिल्डिंगेक कंपल्सरी उदक साठोवन
each society should have actually that
रेन ड्रॉप म्हणजे सांबाळून दवरप.
Exactly. And as you correctly mentioned, in Tamil Nadu they use actually different water for different purposes. Unfortunately, both Kerala people and Goa people are actually least bothered. We use our PWD water for each and everything. From washing the carpet cars to here.
नळ येता म्हणून आमी बायो पुरयल्यो आनी बायो वापरनाशिल्ल्यान ताका वास येता, तातूंत पेट्रोल वता, कसलीच कुयदाद आमी घेना.
We don't main our water resources like say our wells, our ponds, our lakes. So unless and until, as you said, in future.
फुडल्या 20 वर्सान पावस कसो आसतलो?
No, as you forget about future, even now we are not using the resources which we get. As I said, एक दिसा इतले पावस मेळ्ळो जाल्यार if let us say Madgaon or Kepem could have saved that 9 centimeters of rainfall which fell yesterday, or everything goes into the Arabian Sea is actually waste.
Exactly.
So we need more and more wells, more and more ponds, more and more this one.
मडगांव काल पावस पडलो आणि मडगांव बुडले म्हणटा.
बुडले exactly.
हांवें मडगांव म्युनिसिपालिटीचे फोटो पळयल्यात, पूर्ण उदक भितर येयलो. सो हाजो अर्थ पावस तेंकलो तरी आमच्या म्युनिसिपालिटींनी खळयो उपसुनात, गटारां उपसुनात, अजूनही ती परिस्थिती परत
Which is sad. If there was actually some facility in Madgaon
Yes.
to tap the resources which fell yesterday, even KPM. So the recharging of the groundwater is very very important. As you are mentioning in the future, unless we have enough groundwater, we also will actually start with the borewell technology, which is bad, which is happening in the North India. So unless and otherwise, this can be recharged if only there is actually enough water which can go down. Into this one, and the groundwater can be recharged, which is very essential for the future.
ओके बरें पावसा संदर्भान आनी गोंयचे संदर्भान अशें कितें स्पेसिफीक स्टडी एनआयओन केल्या किंवा तुमी केल्या जी तुमकां वेगळे तरेन दाखयता की गोंय म्हणटा तेन्ना हांव कर्नाटकांतलो कांय कोस्टल भाग आयलो सो ह्या सगळ्या हातूंत भितर कितें बदल घडटात
No. As you correctly said, we call it land use land change pattern. That land use land change pattern is actually very very important. See, for example, if you look at 30 years before, how was Goa?
Exactly.
So if you look at the maps of Goa in the last 30 years or 40 years, forget about starting from 1961 onwards, let us look at how the things were changed within our own lifetime.
बरोबर.
So there was no dearth of rainfall. That's what my study I have clearly shown.
Yes.
And one of my students, who is actually a BITS Pilani student, he has done lots of studies on that, and he has very clearly shown the rainfall over Goa, or most of the Goa stations are only shown an increasing trend. Our only problem is actually we are not able to keep the resources within ourselves. Everything flows actually into the RIPNC, which is actually waste.
तुम्ही म्हणटा अशें की गोंयान भितर जे पळय फॉरेस्ट कवर आशिल्लें गोंयान आतां पणजेक तेकून तालगांव आसा ताळगांव म्हणटा एक तेंपार बरी माडाची वनां आशिल्लीं शेतां आशिल्लीं दोंगर आशिल्ले बरे तरेन ते सगळे कापल्यात पूर्ण आतां इमारती आयल्यात आतां परत एक कॉन्ट्रोवर्सी निर्माण जाला की गोंयान जी पळय आतां शिल्लक अश्यो बागायती आसात झाडां आसात ती कापून थंय परत आतां कन्वर्जन सुरू जातलें रानाक उजो लागता सो हें सगळें जर मेनटेन आमी बरे तरेन केलें ना जाल्यार पावसाचेर परिणाम जाता हो खरें न्ही
very true because see the forests they play an important trees especially play an important role in evapotranspiration. No doubt oceans play an important role in the evaporation, but as you correctly mentioned, they retain the water. The trees retain the water and help in recharging of the groundwater. Okay, so evapotranspiration, the trees help, and as you correctly mentioned, the roots help in actually preventing the top soil, which is actually very very fertile. Instead of going, so top soil is maintained, soil moisture is maintained, helps in recharge of the groundwater. So forests play a very very important role, and the tree cover also plays a very very important role on that.
आणि एक महत्वाचो प्रश्न आमी सदांच बरयता आसतना हे करतात की आमचें सी पोल्युशन फॉर एग्जाम्पल मायनिंगा लागून कितलोसो रेबो न्हंयेन वता समुद्रान वता समुद्रांतलें नुस्तें आमी पळयतात काबार जालां न्हंयेन भितर बरे बरे खुबे एक तेंपार मेळटाले ते खुबे आतां मेळनात सो हो जो पळय पोल्युशनाचें पळय लेवल आसा तें वाडत आसा नॉट ओन्ली गोवा आमी पळयतात ऑलमोस्ट सगळे कडेन चेन्नई ड्रॉट इश्यू जाला न्हंयो आटल्यात सो हो जो परिणाम आसा विशेषतः आमचे गोंयचे बद्दल विचार करपाक जाल्यार सी पोल्युशनाची पातळी वाडटा दुसरें जालां की आमचे जो पळय कोस्टलायन आहा थंय आमी मोठ्या प्रमाणात शॅक्स घालपाक दितात बिचाचेर इरोजन आमी मोठ्या प्रमाणात करतात सगळी घाण उडयतात सो हे हाचो परिणाम फुडें पावसाचेर जावंक शकता
very important point, especially the pollution. In fact, NAO has done several studies on the pollution, especially in Mandovi and Suwari and almost all rivers. And the Ministry of Earth Sciences, they had actually a huge program called COMAPS. All the coastal areas, as you correctly mentioned, have been actually monitored for the various parameters actually of the ocean, like say various chemical parameters, biological parameters along the whole coastal parts of India, which was done actually by the this one NIOT and NIOT's help, National Institute of Ocean Technology at Chennai. They have done a wonderful study over there.
सो ही आमची चर्चा सोंपयतना म्हाका परत तोच प्रश्न तुमकां विचारून दिसता की पावस ओनू तुमी म्हणलां सारको रेगुलर आसतलो फकत एक 8 दीस तो डिले जावंक शकता गोंयान तो पावस बरो विस्कळीत म्हणजे जून तो सप्टेंबर ऑक्टोबर मेरेन सदां भशेन पडटलो सो वरी करपाचें कांय
भिवपाची गरज ना
आनी पणजेकारांकय भिवपाची गरज ना कारण जरी ते खणलां आज सुद्दां हांव पळयतालो कांय कडेन परत खणून ते रस्तो खणितात सो तुमी आमकां खरेंच एक बरी बातमी दिल्या बरी खबर दिल्या सो तुमकां तुमी आमच्या स्टुडियोन आयले आनी तुमी आमकां खूब बरें इन्फॉर्मेशन दिलें. आतां हो जो पळय पावस पडत रावतलो तेन्नाय आमी परत
Sure,
मेळया,
sure.
पावसाचेर चर्चा करया. कारण कशें आहा, पावस गोंयकारांक पावस आवडटा
जय, जय, जय.
आनी गोंयांत पावस खूब पडटा.
Very
जवळ जवळ 3 म्हयने तर सामको सेगीत पावस
सारकें
पडिल्लो
पडटा.
आसता. पूण ह्या पावसाच्यो वेगळ्यो जी पळय रुपां
आसा,
आसात,
आसा.
वेगळ्यो घडणुका आसात, ह्योय बी समजून घेवपाची गरज. आनी तुमी म्हणलें तशें सायंटिफीक नॉलेज
Knowledge is very,
पावसा
very, very
संदर्भात
important,
ते
very
लोकां मदीं पावपाक, ती शेतकारांक मेळपाक
जय,
जाय,
जय, जय,
शार
जय.
नियोजनकारांक कळपाक, म्युन्सिपाल्टीक करपाक,
करपाक,
तशें
करपाक.
पंचायतीक कळपाक जाय. सो हें खूब व्हॅल्युएबल तुमी इन्फॉर्मेशन आमकां दिलां.
Thank you.
हांव तुमकां गोमंतक टायम्साच्या वतीन
Thank you.
देव बरें कर म्हणटा. पळयत रावात गोमंतक TV.